Hi, Chelsea. Hi, how are you?
Long time no meet. I've been waiting to meet up with you.
Excited to meet you
Look at all of your people leaving your room. Were those people servicing you?
Yes, they're all servicing me.
Oh my goodness, where are you?
I'm in New York. I just got here for a couple of days of press, and excited to be talking with you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, we have so much to discuss. First of
Yes,
all,
we do.
we have so much to. I hope you're seeing Leslie while you're in New York. I'm sure you probably
I'm
are.
just going to miss her. We were just texting, and I don't think it's going to happen because she's knee deep in all of her in her press at the moment, and I am too. But I did get to see her a couple of weeks ago. We both happened to be in Paris, and so we had a beautiful dinner and a great catch up. And
Yeah, she told me. I was like, oh my God, the fact that the two of you are working together, I was so excited. I don't know Carrie yet, but I'm going to have to meet her too because of the three of you. But okay, we're not going to give any, well, we are because who cares? You know, if people aren't caught up to White Lotus, then they're fucking not paying attention to the life anyway.
Exactly. It's going to be ruined for them. The internet's going to ruin it for them anyway, so they should catch up.
By the time we air this, they'll have been at least one more episode come out. So let's just talk about the most recent episode where you fuck the guy that your friend wanted to fuck. Okay, so I saw this. I mean, I guess I didn't see it coming. I want to say I saw it coming after it came. But I mean, we just see the lead up. But the whole dynamic between the three of you, we'll start with White Lotus because it was such a huge filming experience. And I have a couple of friends that were on this show. So I was so, I heard so many different things about being away for that many months. You guys were away for 6 months in Thailand?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 6 months.
And I know you have children. You have two daughters, right?
I have two. I have a 16-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son.
Okay, sorry. 11-year-old son. How do you stay away from your son for an 11-year-old son? Was he able to visit you?
Yes. Yeah. I was lucky because the show basically started filming in February. So they came over for 3 weeks at spring break. And then they came over for 3 months during the school holidays, the summer vacation. So I got to actually spend quite a bit of time with them. And then, as you know, the show is very much an ensemble with multiple storylines. And so with the nature of filming, you would have kind of one storyline front and center. The ladies specifically, as Mike refers us to as the ladies, we kicked off production. So we shot pretty intensely for about 4 weeks, I think. And then the rat lift started. And so the ladies had a couple of weeks downtime. So I flew back home to be with the family then. So what I thought was going to be a really, really intense time of being away from my family and thinking like, holy shit, how the fuck am I going to make this work? Actually, it didn't end up being that at all. I was actually able to travel to see them, and the real big joy was them being able to come over and spend time in Thailand and kind of having that family adventure there was
kidding.
Second to none. Yeah.
I mean, tell us about Thailand. Tell us about spending so much time there.
You know, I am someone who loves to travel. It's probably my greatest pastime and certainly the greatest privilege. I've been traveling since I was about 17, kind of on my own. I started modeling when I was a teenager. And so it's something that I feel really comfortable doing and I am excited to always do. I mean, listen, even if it's in like Winnipeg or Albuquerque, I will find my jam. I will find that routine. Those
cool
fun
it with
things
Winnipeg.
to do.
You listen. I've heard Winnipeg about 5 times in the last 2 weeks. I have spent 3 days in Winnipeg. I will never ever see the inside of Winnipeg again. So the fact that you
got to be in Winnipeg in summer. Because that's when all the beer gardens come out and like everybody's in a good mood. So, you know, you got to do Winnipeg in the right season. That's the key. Yeah,
I would imagine Winnipeg is really celebratory in the summertime after what they go through in the wintertime.
They're like Chicago, you know, like all the crazy comes out.
Well, without the shopping and without the civilization. I mean, Winnipeg.
There you go.
I spent 3 nights in Winnipeg. I was performing and on tour
How
there.
much online shopping did you do?
Online. Are you kidding me? I took Xanax one after another and just kept sleeping. I was like, fuck this place. I woke up for my show and then went back to sleep afterward. I flew in there and it was a sheet of ice. And there were people ice skating, like from not in an ice skating rink on the streets. People were ice skating to work. I was like,
Oh my God.
and with no
Wow.
mountain. So I love the
Wow.
snow if there's something to ski, but there was nothing to
Yes,
ski because
but
it's
there's no
all
mountain.
flat.
You're right. You're right. It's
Oh my
very
God.
anticlimactic there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's a good note to go back in the summertime. I'm sure it can't get any worse.
It's beautiful, right? It's okay then. But I will say Thailand was amazing. I'd never been to that part of the world. I'd spent a little time in Singapore, probably a couple decades ago. I spent time in Japan, but had never been to Thailand. And it was a place that it's kind of always on that list.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous there. I mean, it's called the Land of Smiles for an absolute reason. And you get there and the culture is so warm. Um, and the food, I mean, I listen, I'm a huge fan of Thai food. I love to eat. And there wasn't one day that I was ever sick of eating, Thai beef salad or green chicken curry or grapao or any kind of Thai dish and fresh fish. I mean, you eat the most incredible like sea bass, red snapper. I mean, it's all just caught fresh. It was just like it was a beautiful experience to be able to just have that as a part of like your daily routine.
Yeah,
It
I
was
would
pretty sweet.
imagine.
Yeah.
So you talk about this experience being one of like the most expansive experiences, career-wise and personally, that you've had working with Mike White, working on this show. Can you talk a little bit more about why it has been such a special experience?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've been in this industry for 25 years. I mean, it is not lost on me. Um, how special that is to be able to have that kind of longevity and as an actor to have the kind of breadth of a career that I've had, been able to explore so many different kinds of genres, in my career, independent film, big films, television. And, that's been incredible for me. But I'm also a woman in my 40s and we always get fed that narrative, that like, your career is going to start to dry up in your 40s. There's not going to be those kinds of roles. And I guess in some ways I've maybe experienced that notion, but I also think like that we feed ourselves that, and those are like stories that we tell ourselves, which I don't necessarily think are a reality. I think uh to be able to specifically work with Mike on this particular storyline was really special for me. We were coming out of a strike as a union. Things were really slow. The opportunity came to me and said, Mike would like you to audition for this character. And I was like, holy shit, I've loved Mike from Chuck and Buck, like from back in the day. I've been obsessed with that dude. And I randomly met him at a dinner party, like, I don't know, probably 15, 17 years ago. And I sat across from him, my husband and I did. And I remember us leaving that dinner party. I was like, that fucking guy is so cool, weird, and awesome. Like, I just got to spend more time with that guy. And within that span of time, of course, we've watched the trajectory of Mike's career as an actor, as a writer, and most certainly, as a director, to then actually have an opportunity to kind of work with him. Uh, when I got the gig, I was like overwhelmed. I cried like tears of joy, because I knew how big of an opportunity this was. And I think, as an actor and as a fan of the show, you know, he's a master of tone. And so to get to creatively to dive in and to kind of flesh out the neuroses of these people, that walk such a fine line, between comedy and drama, and it's melancholic, it's all this acerbic, all those things, like, that's such a challenge. And I was so excited to be able to, um, challenge myself as an actor, as a performer, and go like, "All right, can I lean into these things? Can I deliver exactly what his material deserves?" And so I was super excited about, getting that opportunity and to get to do it also with, like, the likes of Leslie Bibb and Carrie Coon, who I
Yeah, I
hold
mean
in such high esteem.
it's such a great trifecta of the three of you girls. I fucking love it so much. Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question as an actor. Like when you read this, right? You when you're first auditioning, you're just reading probably sides or you get the first script maybe. I'm not sure how he works, but I'm sure it's very
Y
secretive,
yes.
right? But once you get hired for the role and are you able to read through the entire series?
Yeah, so it's such a great question. I mean, when I first got the sides, I was just like, "Fucking hey, man, I just have some, like, insight into what season 3 is." Like, I was just excited to, like, just to have, like, 10 pages of, like, his brain, you know? And then once I got the role, you get them all 8 episodes in your inbox. So you get to binge read this show, and I remember my husband and I and the kids, we got it right before Christmas break, 2023, I guess, because we were shooting 20 February 2024. So I got it right as we were going to Australia, and I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna sleep on this flight." It's a night flight. I was like, I'm just gonna stay up," and I read all 8 episodes, and I was like, "Holy shit, man, he has done it again." Like, the guy is genie. He writes every single scene, and every single character is so complicated and layered and ooey and gooey and cringy, like, all of these things, and you don't know where it's going. Like, you think you know where it's going, and then you just don't know where it's going, and you get to the end, and it's like, holy shit, I get to do this.
Yeah, yeah, because and especially when there's 3 I mean, yeah. Well, okay, so when you are portraying this character, knowing how it ends has to impact your performance, right? Or does it? Or do you play it like you're because there's so many misleads on the show. So like how do you play that? Is that something you work with Mike? Like
Mhm,
obviously your character's going in a direction. We don't know what's going on with your boyfriend.
mhm,
Seemingly he's unavailable. Who knows what he's up to? And you're lashing out in the last episode when you and I are speaking today. The last episode was your boyfriend didn't return your calls or texts, and then you decide to go out on the town and party, blah, 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 with the girls. And then you end up hooking up with Carrie Coon's potential supposed love interest that you set up and then
exactly.
stole from her, which is probably
Exactly.
the most fun character to play.
It's true. It's true. So, basically what happens is you get all 8 episodes, and you shoot them so far out of sequence, it's crazy. So, for example, in our very first day of production, we were shooting scenes from episode 1 and episode 8. So that's a really, really intense kind of bookend of, in terms of like your emotional arc and where you need to be. So you need to be as a performer, as an actor, incredibly clear about all of the emotional beats so that you can, tap into one and tap out of one like within hours of each other if necessary. So the process was very much sitting down with Mike, specifically once we got to Thailand, one on one, each of us as actors, and said, okay, like, what are the qualities in Jacqueline that you really want us to lean into? Like, what is it that you love about Jacqueline? What is it that like you said, are there things that you kind of like, what are the privileges maybe that she enjoys, the things that she can kind of take advantage of in terms of her fame and things like that. So, that's kind of the process, and I think, like, for Jacqueline, she was really excited, sincerely about, like, taking her girlfriends on vacation. I think that she feels like this is something that she wants to do to kind of rekindle this long time friendship that she's had, and she's proud to do that. And these are ladies that have all kind of gone their different direction. They've made different life choices. And, you see in those first few episodes that there is a lot of toxic positivity going on with the gals. And, you see sort of that tension building within the friendship. And, I really loved this idea that Jacqueline is completely sincere with Lori and saying, like, listen, this is a perfect week for a fling. Like, you deserve this. Like, you've got a hard life. You've been working. There's a lot of things personally that she's been going through. And, like, this guy looks like a fling type of guy. Like, you should go for it. And I think, unfortunately, as the season progresses, we start to see the relationship in each of the gals kind of devolve, really. And, as you mentioned, she's in a relationship. Jacqueline's in a relationship where she's being ignored a little bit. And listen, Jacqueline needs a lot of validation. She needs a lot of external validation. You can tell that she's like needs to be stimulated a lot. She's very kind of colorful and bright. And she was a butterfly to me, and somebody who's like very bright and colorful and kind of beautiful, but just kind of just like flies in and makes a little commotion and then flies out. And butterflies have real
Yeah.
short lifespans. And so for me, I thought, like, as an
That's so
actor,
funny.
I felt like Jacqueline feels like she's got a short lifespan. And I don't know, like, I just kept thinking like she's like a butterfly. And so I think, like, she needs that stimulation, and all of a sudden she's not getting it. Like, she's done with the fucking detox, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And the ladies are kind of boring her, and she wants to get out there and, like, have some fun. And she goes out to kind of create some fun. For better or for worse, she's gonna get that validation, where she needs it. And I think that, at the end of that night, she just makes a really impulsive decision. I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's manipulative. And I think it's something that she's probably gonna tell the girls about the next day. Like, guess who I
Yeah.
hooked up
Right.
with?
Right. 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 Right.
Like,
I can see
and
that
that
happening
that
too.
was really like that was kind of my when we're talking to getting I know I've gone off on a tangent, but in terms of like creating that arc, because we shot that scene, we shot like the pool scene, um that and the me kind of, summoning Valentine to the room. We shot that like on day 3. Like that was all, but then like the party scene and the dancing scene and all that, that was like 6 months down the road. That was towards the end. And then the actual sex scene happened on the very last day. I think it was the last scene that I shot. So you can see that we were all over the place. So I think it was just like this split second thing that Jacqueline's like, I'm back in bed. She probably tried to call her boyfriend again. He didn't pick up the phone. And she was like, hey, I wanna get laid, you know?
Yeah.
Like, somebody's gonna fuck this guy.
And she's like, and she obviously didn't take Valentine home. So I guess like he's up for
Yeah.
grabs. Like I think it was that, like, and then,
Well, he's not gonna. Yeah, somebody's gonna fuck this guy, and he's not gonna fuck himself. So I better do it.
I don't know. He might though. I mean, have you
Yeah,
seen
he
him?
might.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he's pretty
And
hot.
so I think it was just like she's having fun. She hit the fuck it button,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then I think like as people will seen as they will watch the next episode by the time this particular conversation airs, is she immediately gets, called out on it the next morning. One of the girls actually sees Valentine leave. Kate actually sees Valentine leave her room, and then Kate immediately gets on it with Lori. And what it does is it ends up being a massive betrayal. The women perceive it as a massive betrayal to them.
Mhm.
And for Jacqueline, I think she just didn't think it was that big of a deal. And so you'll, the rest of the season is sort of like, is it irreparable, or can they get kind of past this, um, and can, Jacqueline, I guess, take accountability for, having this indiscretion, with Valentine. It wasn't like Lori's husband, it was the butler.
I just, I
He's
just, I
very
know.
served, right?
It's so funny. I
Serve
mean,
and service.
I am so much like that character when I go on vacation. I'm just always like, oh, like even the way you talk to people who approach you, like, oh, you're so nice to them. I'm always so nice to them, but like after like the fourth or fifth time, I'm like, okay, can we go somewhere else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you left because of the elderliness of the second hotel, but
Yes.
but just even the way you interact with them as a public, like as a famous person, is so funny. I was like, oh, that's me on vacation. Totally. I bring my friends. I fucking hook up, not with, hopefully not with the people they're interested in, but that's what I'm up to for sure.
Exactly. And I think that's why, listen, this is a testament to Mike White, in all, and not just our storyline or Jacqueline's storyline. It's in all the storylines. It's all of the characters. I mean, he really creates roles and characters that people relate to. Like, you either are that person or somebody who is like that. It's subtle, you know what I mean? And there's so much subtext in it, but I think that's like it, and it's universally um relatable. It's why people all over the world are just like, oh my God, I so know these women. Or even men are like, oh my God, my wife and then her friends, and the Ratliff family, like, who doesn't know like this Southern woman that Parker Posey is playing, like super privileged, and um maybe fewer people who understand the incestuous scene are component of the show, hopefully.
Right.
But I think that's why people are getting a kick out of the storyline. I think specifically the ladies' storyline, because I feel like it's very familiar.
It's very familiar, and it's like it's kind of a pointer for like your future self. Everyone who like sees the show, like in groups of women, it is a reminder of how to kind of honor friendships and not honor friendships. Like, it is the lowest common denominator to talk about people once they leave the room.
Agreed.
For families, I think it's acceptable because families deserve that, and they've been together, and it's not a choice. But when you have friendships, it's like it's kind of a reminder. Don't be like, it's ick. It's an ick to like
ick.
to talk about your friends when you're on vacation with them and they're acting. I mean, well, it's one thing to find out one's a Republican. That's worth discussing.
We need to talk about that.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a break, Michelle. We'll be right back, and we're going to take some callers. And we're back with Michelle Monaghan. It was a quick break.
Back.
But I think like what you were saying like is so true. Like, I think that it holds a mirror. The storyline really holds a mirror to women out there. The way that the way in which we endure these sorts of relationships, and the way that we also perpetuate them, right? By like judging ourselves so harshly, judging our friends so harshly. It's like there is enough room for all of us to kind of celebrate each other and each other's respective sort of life's decisions and, successes, and inevitably all of our failures. And I think the storyline really highlights that for women, kind of across the board, and it's confronting, and it's kind of vulnerable, so, and important.
It's like an underlining the idea that everyone is different. Like, your friends are different. The reason why you're attracted to them is because you share some similarities and you share dissimilarities. But it's a reminder also we're not all the same. Like, so don't be so judgmental or quick to go to the lowest common denominator, which is, gossiping and da-da-da. It's like everyone has something to add. So it's a nice reminder to like let each other in, it might be less comedic, but it's nice to just like open up and let people who are different in and be like, okay, these are my friends. Let me learn what I can grab from them rather than consider them less than because they behaved in this way or that way.
That's right. And I think that's why people will enjoy this second half of the season. I think that you're going to see the idea of that take place.
Oh yeah, things have kicked off for sure. The first couple of episodes, I'm like, this is a little bit slow. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, here we go. Buckle up.
Yeah. And we're going to come full circle.
We're going to take a couple of callers now, Michelle.
Yes.
We give advice to people, real life advice.
Love it.
Because the best advice you could get is somebody who has nothing to do with your situation. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Yes.
So that's what we dole out here at Dear Chelsea. I was going to say Chelsea lately, and then I was like, where am I?
Wrong show.
Whoopsie.
Well, our first question is just an email. Erin says, Dear Chelsea, I am a day one Dear Chelsea girly. I've been listening religiously week after week since your launch. I find every single episode so relatable, helpful, and enjoy the giggles to keep me going through each Thursday. I very much identify with all of Chelsea's views on happiness, single womanhood, and no children life. I'm 31, successful, happy, and independent. I've been dating my entire life with a few long-term relationships that always end due to falling out of love or not having the lasting connection I'm looking for. My current issue is something I've never encountered before. It's relatively low stakes, but would love your honest opinions. I started dating 2 guys about a month ago. Guy number 1, my age, a hustler, different than my normal type, but so cute, kind, caring, and goal-oriented. He has such good energy, makes me feel like I can be my silly self. I have no reservations that he would integrate well into my life, and not to mention pretty good chemistry as well. Guy number 2 is 5 years older, a hustler, but lives a much slower lifestyle and hangs out with all men in retirement, 50s to 70s, and golfs 5 days a week. We have the best sexual chemistry, cuddles, and kisses I've ever experienced. We have not developed the full emotional connection yet, and I have not integrated him into my life. I'm unsure if he will vibe with my friends. During a conversation with guy number 2 about me seeing other people, I disclosed that I'm seeing others, and he said he's not interested in seeing anyone else. He doesn't want to continue dating if I'm seeing other people. I told him it's not enough time for me to tell if the emotional connection is strong enough to make a decision either way. How should I handle this? A, should I just respect his boundaries and move on from guy number 2? B, should I commit prematurely to guy number 2? C, should I lie and keep them both in my lineup going against my morals/honesty? Hopefully this is a quick and easy one to answer. Help, Erin.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well,
what was A? What was A? It was A was
should I respect his boundaries and just say like move on? If you aren't okay with me dating other people, then I just have to move on. Which really is respecting the boundary, which I think is interesting.
I also think it reveals something else. I think A, for me, it's an A. And I think what's revealed in A is, number 1, you're respecting the boundaries, right? You're kind of doing the right thing. But moreover, it might actually allowing her to take a break and making that kind of that solid break and him having created that boundary and her respecting it. You might walk away and like 2 months down the road, feel like, hey, actually, I miss this guy. I miss those cuddles. I miss those snuggles. If she's kind of like in between and half in and half out, she's not going to really know for herself what it's like to not have him in her life. So I think that's creating a nice boundary for herself to maybe kind of learn about who she really does want in her life. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to encourage anyone to be dishonest when somebody's asking for the truth. I think what you can do in addition to A is also say, listen, I am going to continue to see other people because I do really like spending time with you. I would be willing, since they have such great sexual chemistry, I would be willing to continue having sex with you, no strings attached, and we don't have to talk about a relationship if that's what you want. Like I love that part of us. And if you're okay with that, let me know, because that's an option.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, she will hear from him. maybe not initially. He'll say, okay, no, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to see other people, and I don't want you to see other people. But I bet you he will call you at some point and say, oh, why don't you come over? And And that way you have him for sex when you want him, and that's the part you liked about him. And you have this other guy that's a burgeoning relationship. And when that gets more serious and you want to be committed, then do that.
Yeah. I think the worst thing you could do is prematurely commit. You know, because then you're not in it.
No, don't prematurely commit.
No,
and also
absolutely.
you have to respect other people's boundaries. If they're not cool with your multiple lovers, then they're not.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really shocked by that, though. Like, I think that's the most surprising thing, because he's like, "This is my boundary. Take it or leave it."
Yeah, but why is he also hanging out with retirees? I don't understand what that's about. What is that?
This guy also a little bit strikes me
30
as maybe a dud. So.
A 36-year-old hanging out with a bunch of retired people and plays golf 5 days a year.
A guy seems like a pretty good catch. I don't know. I mean, she kind of had me with like, I feel like myself around him. And like, that's all we want in any relationship, right? Whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or even a work relationship, like just to be able to be silly and to be yourself and to be comfortable. Like that's gold.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, Erin.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Kim. Kim says, "Dear Chelsea," and Kim, by the way, is recovering from surgery right now, but she'll be joining us here on the phone. She says, "Dear Chelsea, my name is Kim, and I just turned 37 and had surgery for a problematic cyst, along with having my tubes removed, as I don't plan on having children. During my surgery, it was discovered that I have endometriosis, despite being told over and over that I didn't. There was a great deal of endometriosis tissue that had to be removed, and the recovery was more painful than I expected. My entire life's health issues seem to now be connected to this diagnosis, from systemic inflammation that was misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia, being put on harsh drugs that resulted in me going on disability and losing my job, a spinal epidural angiogram, and incidents where I was blacking out in pain and could not comprehend why. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lymphatic doctor for several years, and I truly believe this work has saved my life on more than one occasion. As a woman, seeing how absolutely horrific healthcare is for us and the years we go with our pain dismissed and lives destroyed, how can I advocate for other women going through this, who, like me, were blindsided by a diagnosis like this and don't have the appropriate resources to improve their quality of life? Thank you again, Kim."
Hi, Kim. Hi.
Hi.
So sorry to hear about all of your health, all of this. And yes, you are not the only woman that is completely frustrated with our healthcare system, which in the immediate future, you know what? I was with someone this weekend and we were talking about this very issue with regard to healthcare, with regard to education, with regard to this administration. And she is somebody who, she's like, there are so many opportunities right now because of the defunding of all of these, institutions, governmental agencies that help with all of these things. There are so many opportunities for us to redefine helping other people. And I was like, oh, that's such a great way to look at this. Like, she's in mutual aid and she runs this organization about mutual aid and she's trying to codify that in the government. So like this here, to me, sounds like an opportunity for you to definitely be helping other women. Also, first things first, have you had an ablation?
No, thankfully I have not. But I did have this cyst rupture in October and got bounced around from hospital to hospital. They told me I had pancreatitis. They gave me no pain meds. I literally had to leave one hospital, go to another hospital. And, the care was just horrific. And I didn't know what was going on. They had said it was just a cyst. Everyone told me this wasn't endometriosis. So I had no idea. My mom had to have an ablation years ago. So I didn't know if this was hereditary, if this, what it was. And it wasn't until I had this surgery and my doctor said there was endometriosis all over and we had to remove it. And she said, that's why your recovery was so horrific, because it was just everywhere. It was just everywhere.
Well, I'm bringing up an ablation because it sounds like something you might want. Are you planning on having children?
No, but they did remove my tubes. So from here on out, I don't have a follow-up. Again, women's healthcare for 4 weeks. So I don't get to talk to my doctor until then. And at that point in time, I'll see what her thoughts are. She had told my mom, well, she'll probably need to be on a low dose birth control. And I said, I don't really want to do that. There have to be other options for us other than just throwing us on birth control pills. And if that is my only option, then so be it. But I'd like to think that there's other resources and other things out there to help us.
Well, first of all, an ablation would be, in my opinion, would be a great thing for you to have because it stops your period for 99% of women. So then you don't have to deal with. It blanches your uterus, so your uterine lining. You don't. I got one. My sister got one. I found out about it. I'm like, what? You can stop your period? And she's like, yes, you could get your uterus scorched. I'm like, I signed me fucking up. And my gynecologist was like, Chelsea, it's not really elective. I'm like, you want to make a bet? I'm like, if you don't do it for me, I'm going to go to the next guy and he'll do it for me.
Yeah.
So she did it, and I don't get my period anymore. I'm probably going through perimenopause, I'm sure, at my age because I just turned 50, but it's been a joy. And it also, like, that's half of your problems, it sounds like. So you should inquire about that. Is there a reason you don't want that?
No, I had no idea that was an elective thing either. I thought it was just,
I'm
going to had it done, but I had no idea.
I'm going to do a public service announcement on my Instagram to make sure every fucking woman knows that if they don't want to have children and they have bad periods. I didn't have a bad period. I just don't want my period. Why would you want your period if you're not going to have children? It doesn't affect you hormonally. It only affects your uterine lining, so you don't bleed.
And you know what else I just learned too is that they can do, this might be a little too far for what you're experiencing, but they can do a hysterectomy but leave your ovaries so that you still have your hormones coming in. So it doesn't throw you immediately into menopause like it used to. So I know somebody who had that, and it's all going well so far.
But what I would say in terms of helping other women, first of all, I would be very loud about it. I think women need all the help that they can get. I would contact your local Planned Parenthood and see how you can and have a conversation with them and see how you could be like a mouthpiece for them and figure out a way like to either start a newsletter or to, even starting small in your community or starting or tapping into their networks or other women's networks, because right now is the time. Our healthcare is very much at risk, and that's a very understood problem that we're dealing with. So I would talk to as many medical professionals. I understand that the medical community has kind of run you around, but there are good people within that community who do want women to be more educated and know what their options are. And I've heard this story so many times. Even some of my celebrity friends have dealt with this, and you would think that they would be getting better attention from their doctors. It's not true. It's simply just not there for women. So I think it's great wanting to be an advocate for women's health. And I think there are a million ways to go about it. So I would really just start talking to everyone every woman about what they know, and really think about using your social platforms, using like maybe you write a newsletter, maybe you connect with a women's group or multiple women's groups in your area. Or
I like what you said about writing a newsletter, because she said on her previous call that she's a writer. So like maybe a Substack, something like that. Or TikTok. I think that's great. And Michelle, I know that you have advocated for like melanoma awareness. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experiences with like getting the word out about getting checked and that sort of thing?
Yeah, just becoming an advocate for your own health, Kim, is the best thing that you can do. I was diagnosed with melanoma about 10 years ago. My husband actually found it. Fortunately, I discovered it at an early stage. And removed all of it, and I was cancer-free. But it was a huge wake-up call to me, because actually initially the doctor didn't even want to remove it. The doctor was like, I think it's fine. And my husband is Australian. He happens to be very well educated in what skin cancer looks like. And he was like, no, you need to have that biopsy. You need to have that removed. And I too, as an American, I had like a lack of sun sense, if you will. I had a lack of awareness kind of growing up, didn't wear a lot of sunscreen. And when I found out it was melanoma, I was actually shocked. I didn't even realize melanoma could be fatal. And so once I started doing my due diligence and really started to educate myself about the dangers of too much sun exposure and ingredient safety and wearing sunscreen and how important that is, I went, wow, like I need to share this information because I'm learning a lot, and I need to impart this not only onto my children, it simultaneously happened as I was becoming a mother, but with my friends, because I'm seeing all my friends like sitting out in the sun and not really fully grasping the dangers of the impact of what the sun can do to you. So I started, as Chelsea was just saying, talking to my friends and my family about how important it is to get your skin checks and things like that. And so now I would consider myself a skin cancer advocate, and I love like every May comes around, and I like to shout it from the mountaintops because it's Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Uh, but the most important thing that we have as women is our ability to communicate with each other and amongst our friend groups. One of the latest things is like I'm in the middle of perimenopause and I didn't even know it. And all of my symptoms were dismissed by like my GP and my actual gynecologist because like I didn't have hot flashes, but like I had all these other things. And I was like, what is this? This is so weird. This is not like me to have this kind of anxiety. Like, why do I have this hormonal acne? Why do I feel, why am I not sleeping well? All of these things. And it started with a conversation with my friends. And they're like, well, I guess we're like in perimenopause because we're in our mid 40s. And I was like, wait, what is this thing? And so I think that's our greatest superpower is to be able just to share the knowledge that we have and that we learn, and like we don't gatekeep on things. And I'll say in terms of endometriosis, I have so many friends that have also endured that, and now I'm seeing the conversation a lot more, online, and people are talking about it. There was I'm from Iowa, and there was a great state representative that like put a bill through the Iowa Congress to add more funding into the research of endometriosis. So even where you're at, I would look into kind of state, as government is defunding, there are folks out there that are actually, as Chelsea said, there's these like strong like little coalitions that are actually trying to help people. So maybe even look into that, and into just even in your local kind of policies, and see if there's people out there trying to motivate the research forward.
And also, Kimberly, like this is a huge opportunity for you. Like it is a huge opportunity to get your message out, and also having real conversations with these doctors and saying, it doesn't have to be confrontational, it doesn't have to be argumentative. You can just be like, listen, this information, this is not cool. Like there are so many women out here dealing with this problem, and you as a medical professional need to hear from your patient that you guys need to do a better job of actually taking our concerns seriously, taking our pain seriously, and really go through it with them. So it's as a learning moment and a teaching moment for these doctors. I mean, this is their profession, and some won't be receptive to it, but I'm sure one or two will be, and you're going to kind of change the trajectory of how they treat their patients moving forward. So it is a worthwhile endeavor for sure to have these honest conversations with anybody and everybody you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge, actually.
Yeah. And and the political aspect is great too, because there are going to be representatives in your state who are very concerned with women's health care. So like get into it. It seems like a big hill to climb, but it's really not. Once you make a couple steps in the right direction, everything kind of comes together, and they're going to be grateful for the information.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, so many parts of this journey have just been wild, and they just dismiss your pain and tell you it's a bad period, and that's it. They just knock it up to it's a bad period, and you'll deal with it. But it really is
so interesting. I just had this conversation with my daughter this past weekend. She's 16, and because I know that this is such a pervasive issue for women, I said, let's talk about your period. Let's like have a real conversation about your period. Like I want to know, like, are you having bad periods? Like, do you have cramps? So how long are your periods? Like, I wanted to have an understanding, because I feel like once someone gets their period, you're like, okay, you got your period. And then the conversation ends, right? And that's part of the problem. I think like a part of the education is talking to a younger generation and saying like, this is what a real period should be and feel like. And if it doesn't feel like this, then we need to know about it, because a lot of young women start their periods but don't necessarily start seeing a gynecologist until later in their teens. And so by that time they're enduring this pain. And these are, things that they just think, I guess, are normal and attributed to being a woman, So I think the education starts like from the time that we're talking kind of about the birds and the bees, and what's normal. So I think the whole narrative needs to shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kim, let us know if you do start something and where people can find you, and we'll send Dear Chelsea listeners to you. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
I really appreciate it. I mean, my
Yeah.
goal throughout my whole life was I don't want people, and Chelsea, in your book, you said I don't want people to feel alone, like you're not alone. And I read that in your book, and it was just like that was that driving force that's like, you know what? I'm not going to shut up, and I'm not going
Yeah.
to be quiet, and I'm going to talk to everyone, and I'm
Yeah.
going to do something about this. So thank you for being an inspiration and giving people like me a voice and an opportunity to try and change the world, because without you, I wouldn't be here right now, and I wouldn't have this drive to just really change things, really mix
Well, you
things.
would be here. You would be here without me. So, let's not give me too much credit.
But she makes it more fun, doesn't she?
But yes, I'm so happy you called in, and yeah, go and run with this. Okay,
Absolutely.
This is make this part of your purpose in life.
It is 100%. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Bye, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
I can. Nice to meet you.
I can't tell you how many. I mean, obviously, we're all women. We know how many women have endometriosis and
I've
go
got
on.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and go undiagnosed. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when Amy Schumer was pregnant. Like I don't even know what the term is for what she has, where you're nauseous every day for your throughout your pregnancy.
It'll come to me.
It
It'll
starts
come
with
to
an
me.
E, but it's got about 47 syllables.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
she didn't get diagnosed until halfway through her pregnancy, and she was
Gosh.
vomiting every single day. Like no one ever told you that was an option. They tell you about
Yeah.
morning sickness lasting
Yeah.
the first trimester. They don't say, oh, you could also be sick for 9 months straight or 8 months,
Exactly.
however long it is.
It's like something grava something. I don't know.
Gravlax? I think that's what you
That
put
will
on
make you sick.
I think that's what you put on your bagel.
Well, our next caller is Lizette, and she says, Dear Chelsea, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and like everyone told me, my little girl has become a nightmare. She's a good kid with a good head on her shoulders, but the attitude is real. I cannot get her to help clean up around the house, the biggest issue, or clean up her bedroom or bathroom. We have a 2-bed, 2-bath condo, and it's just us two. She's just so messy, and I thought by this age she would get a little better, but she's just been a walking disaster. I've tried grounding her and taking away her electronic devices, but she doesn't even care. Please help, Lizette. Hi, Lizette.
Hi, Lizette.
Listen, I've got a 16-year-old daughter. It's the towels that like really do my head in that don't like get hung up, right? And then I get in the shower because we share the bathroom. And then I'm like, wait, where are all the towels? And then I go into a room and they like are scattered everywhere. But I do want to say something encouraging. She's 16 now. And this weekend, we were hanging out and we were getting home and we were going to go and do something. And she's like, but mommy, she's like, I want to tidy up my room first because like my girlfriends came over last night and we just like, it's a disaster. So I want to tidy it up and then I'll come down and like, we'll do the thing. And I was like, whoa, wow, this is crazy because at 13 and 14, I just thought like I was just raising a kid that just was like going to ignore all of the things. Like, can you just make your bed? Can you just like pick up the towels, this and that? You're in the thick of it right now, but I promise you, they come out on the other side. And when they come out on the other side is when they start like hosting their friends. And then they have like a boy come over because now all of a sudden they don't want to live in a pigsty. But as soon as like they start to invite other people in, they like actually really start to care about, the things that kind of matter. And they realize they have to start picking up after themselves. Because taking away the electronics and all of that stuff, like none of that worked for us either. And then all of a sudden it just switched. She just kind of matured and evolved, which is really exciting.
How is she outside of her messiness? Just a raging hormonal?
No, she's not at all, actually. She is really like a grounded kid. And that's something also that I always I kind of want to touch on. I feel like when you are in conversation with other people and you say that like, I have a teenage daughter, everybody's like, oh my God, you must be going through it. How is that? And I just want to point out that nobody says that about a teenage boy. Nobody says like, oh God, you must be going through that. I think that's such bullshit. I want to call that out and I want to stop with that narrative because I think that we're putting these things that are unrealistic and not entirely true on our like young daughters, you know?
I don't
I'm
know.
raising
Girls do seem. I mean, from my experience, as if I
Yeah.
was such a fucking raging bitch from the age
Yeah.
of 13 to 18. Liz, like,
Yeah.
how is your daughter outside of the messiness? Like, is she just hormonally out of whack? Like, because I do think girls at that age are having a harder time than boys at that age. I don't think they're worse than boys. I think they are struggling more than boys do at that age.
My daughter is definitely not like raging hormones or out of control. She's really grounded and
Oh,
she does
great.
very well in school. She's in a lot of activities. She's just messy.
She's gonna grow through that. She will. She will. Yeah.
And Lizette, tell them what you told me about like some things she's fine at and some things she has like a panic over and like a breakdown.
Yeah, so like I try to give her easy enough chores. Obviously, she's learning to clean correctly still. But yeah, like if I tell her to unload the dishwasher, she has no problem with that. But if I tell her to load the dishwasher, it is a full panic attack. I can't do this. It's just a huge meltdown. I don't know why you're making me do this. It's so hard. And yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, well, I feel like you already have a lot going for you in terms of her other behaviors. So, I mean, if this is the worst problem and it's temporary, as Michelle has elucidated, so have her unload the dishwasher instead of load it. Have her do the things she's capable of and feels good about, and she will grow out of it. Absolutely. Yeah. And she's got all these other things going for her. Like she's getting good grades. That's really the most important thing, that she's grounded. That's also the most important thing. Like those are all good qualities. Not every listen, I was away with my family this weekend. My sister had a big birthday, and I went into the kitchen to try to add something to a plate. Like there was all this food in this dish, and it was like stripped like pork, like carnitas, and I was trying to put it in the pan for my aunt who was cooking, and 3 of the people were like, "Chelsea, don't touch anything in the kitchen. We don't want your help. Just go outside and use your strengths, which are personality and talking." That may be something I'll never be able to do, is anything that involves kitchen, cooking, da-da-da. Like, I'm not good at that. I've never been good at that. It's like my brain freezes when I have to do anything that involves that. So, like, give her a little bit of latitude. I know you're her mother and you don't want to be sitting around cleaning up after your daughter, but messy is not the worst thing in the world. And I bet you, if you stop actually, like, kind of trying to punish her and talking about it, I bet you without the pressure of it, she'll kind of come to it on her own at some point also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It could also be like letting the pressure off by saying like, okay, well, if you like, you've got a choice. Like, do you want to load the dishwasher or like vacuum the, living room or something like that? So she's got a little bit more autonomy there, but she still has to like help out in the ways that you need her to help out.
Yeah. And I also think like honesty is the best policy. There are times where I just like, my husband and I have sat the kids down and just be like, "Hey, guys, we really need you to help like contribute because we're really stressed out right now over this, or we're really busy, or I'm working, or daddy's trying to get this finished. Like, I'm really overwhelmed with work. I'm going to be traveling a lot. Like, I really need to focus on this today. Whatever you can do to kind of help like get us through the day or this week." And just having that kind of communication and having that vulnerability, because I think kids like see us as, I always kind of run into this problem too. I have to be really careful because I'm busy and I'm traveling a lot, and I have to be careful to like not come into the house and like, if I'm just kind of passing through and like be the nagger, and they can do this and do that, and I want to come in and be the person that kind of uplifts them and be like, "Hey, like, wow, well done. Like, you are killing it at school right now. I'm so proud of you. Like, thank you so much." And I feel like, in life in general, we all want kind of that, that we all want to be tapped on the shoulder for and get that recognition for like the hard work and the things that we are doing right. And I think at the end of the day, that helps build confidence and inspires us to kind of do better or try to contribute more in other areas that maybe we're not doing so much. So that might be another approach as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, Liz.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Okay. We're going to take our last break and come back to wrap up with Michelle Monaghan. And we're back with Michelle Monaghan, most recently from White Lotus, but you've seen her a million things. She was in Mission Impossible 3. I didn't know you were married to an Australian guy. That's funny. I have so many Australians in my life.
Yes,
Australians know all about skin cancer.
They know all about skin cancer. They really do. Aussies are fantastic. I mean, they're just so loose and fun and
Loose
just
and
have a
fun,
great
yes,
sense
for
of
sure.
Yeah, have a great sense of humor.
Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I hope I get to see you in person at some point. I hope we get to hang out. We
Yeah,
will.
I would
We
love
definitely will. We'll get
Yeah.
together with Leslie also.
Great, great.
And I hope the best of luck. I can't wait to see all the good things that come from White Lotus for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Chelsea. You rock. Absolutely appreciate you.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye-bye.